Hi, welcome to the Indie Game Manual for the week of August 26th. I'm actually having to buy a new suitcase just for all my ironic t-shirts. I am Rob Manuel. Now, a lot actually happened last week. Gamescom had a lot of developments with indie games, of course, with Microsoft and Sony, and a lot of people are expecting me to talk about that, but of course we don't know a lot of that information, so I'm just going to hold off really touching on that subject. Now, of course, we have PAX coming up this week, and there's a lot of great games coming up for PAX. And if you really want to know about what you can start playing once you get there, you should really check out the indiemegabooth.com. Or if you can't make it, you should definitely check out my blog this week where I go over the games that you can play at home right now. So what am I talking about? Actually, I'm talking about neither of these things because there's something way more important that I need to talk about. Brendan Boyer, who a lot of you may know and a lot of you may not know, last week announced that he has cancer. Brandon's actually, very important to the indie game community. He's one of the first people who actually came out and started talking about video games of all natures as being a sort of like of a bigger scope, like of art and of meaning. He's worked on Edge, Gamasutra, he's worked on Boing Boing, and actually it was at Boing Boing that he started Off-World, which was their indie coverage website offshoot, and that was really, for a lot of people, the first time they had heard about indie games. I mean, this was during a time like I think it was like 2006, 2008, somewhere around there, where like people were really starting to discover that you could actually make games that didn't have shooting, that had like a meaning, that had like a story to them, that you didn't have to be, every game didn't have to be financially successful, that you actually could just make a statement with a game and really just go, I mean, you could make art basically. And Brandon sort of like lift these games up to a bigger crowd. I'm not saying that he was the only one at the time, but Brandon for many people was the first person to, bring these games to light. Since then, he's of course been the chairman of the IGF, which is the Indie Games Festival, which is pretty much, the largest games festival, or at least one of the largest games festival, that really sort of awards these games and these developers for making such innovative strides in games. And he's also started Venus Patrol, which is basically another offshoot of Off-World, where, once again, he brings these games to life. He goes out, he helps other festivals to sort of like cultivate, to curate even the games that they need to be seen. This year also was the first time we saw Horizon, which was sort of E3's answer to indie games, where indie game developers could actually have a platform to announce new games, to announce how they're doing, to show off new footage without sort of getting crowded out by the AAA titles. I mean, as we saw with, Sony and Microsoft, yes, they announced a lot of indie games, but at the end, like, it was the AAA games who will get the most time, and it's the indie games who just sort of get a blip on the radar. It was Horizon that actually let the games breathe and shine and actually have a home. And so Brandon actually sort of, in a way, sort of helped a lot of us make it okay to talk about games this way, to talk about games as sort of art, to talk about games as having meaning and to have more than just the commercial value for it. He sort of, opened a path for people like Lee Alexander, like Gus Mastrapa, like Anthony Carboni. It was really Brandon who gave people not only the right to talk about these things, but just sort of like the platform. And so right now, I really want to say is thank you, Brandon. Thank you for doing this for us. And I encourage all of you to really just reach out to Brandon and sort of tell him your thoughts, or even just thank you. Definitely check out on Twitter or go to his personal blog and just leave him a message. I know it's these little things, but little things sometimes mean a lot.